In this video, I'm going to talk about how to create a TLS certificate for DB2 and then test TLS connectivity. So in one of my previous videos here, we just successfully tested the unsecure port, which is 25,000. The next step we're going to do is create a certificate for the database to use. So I'm going to go to the root of my D drive and create a certs directory. And I'm going to create a key store. Now I'm going to use the GSKit, which is IBM's version of OpenSSL. And I'm going to create a new database key store. And let me just change into the certs directory there. So I'm going to run the command, the GSKit command, to create a key database. I'm giving it the full path here, and I'm going to call the key store the same as the host name. I'm going to give the key store a password, and I'm going to tell it to stash that, so there'll be a stash file. I'll also give it the PQC flag and the type flag to tell it how to create the key store. So we'll run that, and we should get a success back, which means no error message if it's successful. Now, the next thing we want to do is actually create the private key and the certificate signing request to go along with it. So we'll use this command, the GSK8 capi cmd. We're going to create a certificate request. We specify the key store we just created above, and that it can just use the stashed password for that. We're going to give it the label of the hostname, and we're going to say that the target is the hostname.csr. So that's where the certificate signing request is going to go. We give it the key size. You may want to change this. The algorithm, same thing there. We also tell it what the distinguished name is, and that's going to be the host name, the fully qualified domain name of this host. So the host name plus iamlab3.local. We also are going to add in a subject alternate name. Otherwise, certain clients may complain if that's not there. All right, and we didn't get any errors, so that means it succeeded. So the next thing we do is we have to go to our domain controller. So let's open up a web browser, and we're going to go to, hold on a sec here while I update the web browser so it's a little more acceptable there. All right, so next we're going to go https://lab3dco1, which is our domain controller, .iamlab3.local/cert_srv. All right, so it's going to need me to log in here. I'll just log in with the admin. And now I can request a certificate. So I click on request a cert, and we want advanced. We're going to select web server for this. And now we have to go to that directory on the D drive where we have our certs. And we're going to open up this certificate signing request with Notepad. And we're just going to copy all that. And we're going to put it into this window here, and we're going to click submit. And now we've got a signed certificate. So we're going to download that. And we'll say we're going to keep that. Let's go to that file location. We're going to rename that to lab3 dbo1. And we're going to put that into our certs directory, just to keep everything kind of nice and neat. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to download the CA certificate. So let's click on home here, and we're going to download a CA certificate. So we'll do that in base64, download CA certificate. And we're going to keep that. We're going to open that file as well. We'll call this root CA, and we're going to move that over into our D drive in the certs directory as well. So now the next thing we need to do is we have to take that root certificate and put it into our key store. So we'll do that again with the GSKit. We're telling it we're adding a certificate to that key database using the stashed file. And in this case, we're going to load in the root CA, and we're going to give it the label lab root CA. Great, no errors there. The next thing we're going to do is bring in our signed certificate. So we're going to do a receive of a certificate into that key store, and we're giving it the .cer file that we downloaded from the CA. And no errors there. Everything's looking pretty good. We can verify that certificate just by doing a cert list. And if we want, we can also change that to, we just modify that, remove the list, change that to details. But we also have to give it the label, label, lab 3 DB01. And we see the details of that certificate. And most importantly, we want to make sure that the trust status is enabled. Now that we have the certificate, we want to configure DB2 to actually use that certificate, and then private key, of course. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the Start menu and go to DB2 and run the DB2 command line processor. Now, it's important to make sure you select just the command line processor and not command line processor plus, because they function a little differently. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, we're going to update the SSL SRV KDB value, and we're going to tell it where our key database is. And this will actually give us success messages too, so it's good feedback here. We're going to give it the location of the stash file as well, because we want DB2 to be able to start up on its own without having us to type in a password or anything like that. We're also going to tell it the label, which is the same as the host name in this case. We're going to tell it that we want to listen on port 25001 for secure connections. And we only want to use TLS version 1.2 and 1.3. You may only want to use 1.3 depending on your configuration. I'm just showing some options there. If you have multiple, you just separate them with a comma. And then we can see how that's configured by doing the get database manager configuration. Now this is going to spit out a lot, but if we just scroll back a little bit, we can see all the values that we put in there. So that's looking pretty good. Now the next thing we want to do is we need to open up a DB2 command window as administrator. So let's do that. And we'll say, yes, we want to run that. Now what we want to do here is we need to do a couple of other things to configure DB2. So first off, we're going to do the DB2 set, and we're going to tell it that we want to use TCP/IP and SSL. Even though we're not using SSL, we're actually using TLS. The keyword for this that IBM uses is SSL, so just be aware of that. And then we're going to stop the system. We're using a force here because I just don't want to wait for it. And then we're going to do a DB2 start. And everything is looking good now. So if we do a netstat on this, we can now see both 25,000 and 25,001 are listening. So that means we are, in fact, running the TLS port. Now, if you happen to have a Windows firewall on here, you're going to want to say, open up the firewall and network protection. Click on the advanced settings and go to the inbound rules when that pops up. Okay, it's over there. Inbound rules. And what we want to do here is click on new rule. And we're going to say we're going to create this rule by port. And we're going to give it, first of all, we need 25,000 and 25,001. We also need 523. I'm not going to go into why in this video, but something you should have added in there. We're going to allow connections, and we're going to, in this case, I'm going to do it for everything. I don't need to specify anything else there. DB2 ports is what I'm going to call this, and click on finish. And that rule is now in there. So we are now ready to start our testing. Now, to do the testing, what I want to do is I want to do the same Java command that I did last time, which is, let's see where that actually is. There we are. So this is the Java command I used for non-secure communications. But in order to have Java make a secure connection, since I used a CA that was not an actual publicly known CA, it's an internal CA on my domain controller, I need to first tell Java that I trust that CA. So in order to do this, I need to take our root certificate, which is in the D drive here, root CA, and I need to put that into a key store that I can tell Java, read this key store for the trusted CAs. So to do that, I am going to use the key tool command, which is found in that DB2 Java directory. I'm going to tell it to import a cert, and it's going to be a trusted CA cert. The key store that I'm going to create is rootca.jks, and I'm going to tell it to load in the file that we downloaded earlier, rootca.cer, and I'm going to give it the alias rootca, and I don't want to prompt, and I'm telling it to just store the password. Oh, sorry, I just realized I need to actually add it. And so let me add that password. Sorry, not to store the password, but the store password. I misspoke there. All right, so we have the certificate added to that key store. Now we can actually go ahead and test our connection. So to test the connection, I'm going to use this command here, which is running Java using that DB2 JCC. And I provide the URL. Now in this case, instead of port 25,000, we're doing 25,001, but we're still using the loopback address and the sample database. We have to add in some more to this connection string though, because we need to tell it that the SSL connection should be true. That will force it to connect by SSL. And we're telling it where to find the SSL trust store, which is that root CA JKS that we just created up above. And we're giving it a password for that, the let me in 123, bang. And next we tell it that we want to once we've made that connection, we're actually logging into the database using the DB2 admin, and we're providing the DB2 admin password as well. All right, and that completed successfully. So that has confirmed that we have TLS up and running on our DB2.